We recording? Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. It's a special meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Tonight is August 29, 2023. Also, I'm Bob Carlson, the first selectman. Also with me is Nicole Porter, selectwoman, and Brett Mastriani, selectman. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we have one item on our agenda this evening. It's the recreation presentation for the before and after school care program. So, Jamie, you're going to do that? Great.
Oh, it's on. Okay. How's that? Can you hear me? Okay, great. So thank you. I'm Jamie Toll-Weichsel. I'm a representative from the Board of Education with the subcommittee that has been working on this before and after care. So I just want to give you a really quick outline of what we've been doing and kind of where we are headed, hopefully. So just to start with some background, we have noticed that there's been rumblings that we've needed some before and after care in the school district for a long time now. Despite the fact that we have many businesses in town, we still know that there is a need to have this before and after care. So we sent out a survey, the Board of Education sent out a survey at the end of the school year, and we sent it out to NSES parents. And it was a really busy time of year, but we still got about 20% feedback from the survey, which we thought was actually really good. And the overwhelming majority said that we need before and after care. So we asked them a variety of questions like, can you please tell us what times you would like? How much are you willing to pay? What type of activities would you like to have? And so we found that it was about a 7 a.m. start time and going to about 4:30 in the afternoon. Most people were willing to pay around $10 for the before and after care, and they would need it Monday through Friday. And the activities is people were looking for homework help, but also a lot of physical activity, which is really great for us because our physical education scores are low. And so we really are hoping that maybe a program would help boost those numbers a little bit. So what we did is we kind of got together and thought about how could we address this need. And so part of it is at the school, we have the space. We would be working with the superintendent to try to find the appropriate space depending on the number of children that we have. But we have no way of really collecting money, figuring out how we would do registration, all of those things. So we look to the Rec Commission because they already do that. So they do that with their summer programs that they have going on now. And so we kind of reached out to them and said, hey, is this some type of collaboration that you'd be willing to do with us? And they said yes. So we met with the Rec Commission a couple of weeks ago and proposed our idea. With the caveat that we are not experts. This is both Stephanie and I. We are not before and after care or childcare experts, but we were looking to hire a director that would help guide the program and really build it from the ground up. So they put to vote and they voted to allow us to hire a director for the program. And we sent out a job description and the response was really great. We got about 12 applicants that came back. And we interviewed 3, and we have 3 highly qualified candidates that I think would be great additions to our program and to the town. So one of the things that we really wanted to do, and sorry, before I say that, I should say this is a completely collaborative effort. So we formed a committee, a joint committee between the Board of Education and the Rec Commission. So it's myself, Stephanie Mastriani, Emily Mastriani, Keith Dugas, and Meg Perkins, who are on this search committee looking for these candidates. We followed HR practices. We asked them all standard questions. And like I said, we had some really great candidates. So we decided also that this, in order to get a really high quality candidate, we needed to pay them quite significantly. Also because they're odd hours. So we're looking for, about an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the afternoon. And those aren't your standard working hours. So we settled on $800 a week for 20 hours per week to keep it part-time, but also it would allow for the 3 hours per day contact time. So that's 15 hours a week of contact time. And then it would allow for some preparation time as well so that they can help develop this program. We've also been thinking about hiring an assistant director as well as hiring staff. And so we have job descriptions for all of those as well. And we're hiring them at competitive rates as well. So we do recognize that this is a rec program, but also we don't have any funds to get it started. We think that this program will happen and will be self-funded, but we need to get this off the ground. So the Board of Ed, we basically on the Board of Ed voted to allow for $1,200 as seed money to help get this program off the ground. And so that would be for 1 week of salary for our director. That would allow the director to hire whoever they wanted, and then also $400 for supplies to get this started. So also the timing is kind of critical. So we're looking to start this program as soon as possible. Part of the problem is many parents that need this program have probably already figured out childcare, but childcare is going to always be a problem. And so we'd really like to get this program off the ground as soon as possible. So you might be wondering how we're going to pay for this. So if you look on the second page, I've done up some numbers to help just kind of put into perspective. So we are proposing a 10-week pilot program. So this is just a way for us to see if the program works, but also to provide evidence for the success of the program so that we can go forward for potentially for appropriations to expand the program longer. So I've mapped out what it would be weekly, our kind of trimester, which aligns with the academic calendar in the elementary school. And then I projected it out for 40 weeks if we were to do this for the whole year. So if we were to hire, just looking at the weekly column, if you were to hire the director at $800, and then we do feel it's critical that we have 2 adults that are working with our children at the moment. So we would hire an assistant director at $450 a week. We'd use about $100 of supplies. That's going to run us at about $1350 for the week. Now we are, because this is a pilot program and we're just testing out space and personnel and all of those things, we are limiting this program, or would like to limit this program, to only 20 students. So that gives us 20 students for 2 adults. And so if we charge, and you can see the math kind of in the little asterisks at the bottom, this is $8 per session. So it would be if a parent needed a child in the both AM and PM program, that would be $16 per day for 5 days a week, and that would be $80 that one student would bring in. They went to both sessions, but essentially we would need 20 commitments for both the morning and the PM to make that number happen. And then we also, through conversations with some of our wonderful candidates, they have also suggested, because this is a pilot program, that maybe we need a little bit more funds coming in just to start, and that we could charge a registration fee of about $25 per child as a one-time fee to just help boost our program a little bit more and make sure that we have the funds that are needed there. So that would bring in about $2,100 per week. And so that would give us a positive of $750 per week. So we would be making that per week, even if we subtract out the cost of both the director and the assistant director. So projecting that out a little bit further, you could see that over the 10 weeks, we would net about $3,500. And then if we did the whole year, we'd net about $13,000. So we feel that this program is self-sustaining. It will pay for our limited staff. And if we keep it small, it's going to be pretty doable. Now, I've also done the math for a group of 10 student cohorts. So that's the projections underneath. So basically the rec has the ability to open a wait list. And so we could set a wait list of 10 students. And as soon as we get those 10 students, that would provide enough funding for us to hire an additional staff. So I said our staff would be hired at a pretty competitive rate. And so we're thinking about $25 per hour for an adult, or we could even open this up to a high school student at about $17 per hour. And so regardless of that, we would still net, we'd be in the positive there with the 10 additional students. So we feel that we could handle in this pilot maybe up to 30 students depending on the need, but we could look at it in a 10 cohort increment as we go through and expand them. So let me know if you have any questions, and the rest of the group is also here to help answer.
I do have a few. So, and it sounds like it makes sense. The program makes sense. What if you don't get enough enrollment to cover, I know you have the $1,200 startup cost. What if there's not enough initial enrollment?
Yeah, we wouldn't run the program. So we really need those 20 students.
Okay, and if you, and you think that is it director, assistant director, and how many fellow workers would you need for 20 students?
That was all we would need. It's just
The two.
just the two with if we keep it to 20, and then every 10 we would add on an additional adult.
And if the program was profitable, and I see it, best case, maybe around $13,000 on the 20 student program, what happens to that money?
Well, it would go to the town. So it would go into essentially back to the town.
Okay, my questions.
Have you had any conversations with the woman that just opened the Early Learning Childhood Center? I know when we toured there, she was envisioning before and after care as well. And I just want to try and understand how that might compete with the program with the rec. I think that taking what is very needed in town and partnering with the rec commission, I love that idea. I just am a little bit concerned about competition for what she may have planned.
Absolutely. Well, so she's also going to be limited on her spots as well. So that's, we're always kind of up against the number of staff that are available. But we did have a conversation with her. She came to one of our Board of Education meetings. And certainly I think that's a viable option, especially for parents that need extended time. So maybe they need a little earlier or a little later. But we found from our survey, because we've had programs in town like this already, that despite this, there's still a need for some type of different program. The value to this program is it's right at the school. So parents can just drop off their kids right at the school. They don't have to worry about how they're going to get over. And I'm sure that the programs, they have buses and things like that, but maybe it just doesn't work for the parents. But I think the real evidence is, despite the fact that we have these programs already in town, there's still a need. And so it just doesn't always fit with every child and whatever programming they really want.
So you're targeting just the elementary school kids for right now. Is there a plan if this is profitable and we can make this work? Is there a plan to extend that at all?
To like maybe middle school students? It's a possibility. I think right now we really need to focus on children that can't necessarily stay home by themselves. And so really focusing on the elementary school. Right now we're looking at K through 6. So we might be interested in expanding to pre-K, but pre-K has different hours than the normal school time. So it makes it a little more challenging. But I think right now we really need to focus our efforts on K through 6.
And just one last one while it's fresh in my head. So we're all ready, schools tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
So, and to your point of parents already having a plan in place, what is your ideal start date for this if all of this works out? And then what if you can't secure those 20 kids? Could you keep the applicants kind of on the hook for a little bit and say, you know what, we think by December we'll have the 20 kids to be able to make this run? What kind of thought have you guys put into as far as what if we don't have on day one enough to sustain it?
Yes, so the first part of your question, I'd really like to open this within 2 weeks. So part of that is because we need the candidates to be able to give their 2 weeks notice to their current employer. So the idea is we'd be ready to go in 2 weeks. There are other clubs that run after school that do have this delayed start. So things like the drama club and homework club, they don't start right away. Although ideally it would have been nice to start tomorrow, but we cannot. So I do feel we can get the 20 students right away. It's a possibility that we say, we may have to put this on pause for a little bit. We have the funding right now just to support only a week. But honestly, we've been very clear with the candidates that this is a pilot program and then it may not go further.
That's it for now.
I really don't have any questions. I've been to the rec meeting where this was discussed and the Board of Ed meeting. The only hesitation I would have is your registration fees for the first 10 weeks. I could see if it was the full program, but I'd feel bad if people paid a registration fee and then it canceled after a few weeks and then we have to refund it. That was my only take on this whole presentation, but I think it's an excellent program. And we do have 3 freestanding daycares in town as well as some home-based ones. So there is that program, but obviously there was a need based on the results of that survey. Even some people today posted that they're looking for some before and after school programs for their kids. I do think it would be a benefit. And just, can you go over how the program management would work? So I don't know if Nicole heard that from that was at the rec meeting mostly, but.
Yeah, so we were kind of looking at a chain of command. So the assistant director would report directly to the program director. The program director would ideally they are a employee of the town, so they report to Tom Fabian. But in terms of building need and things that are on site, we'd really look to have that director communicate specifically with the superintendent. So there would be that collaboration there. But in terms of like, they need time off, things like that, more personnel and HR related, it would go through Tom.
That
Jamie,
bring, oh,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, no, that brings up another, the director gets sick and she's out. What's the backup plan for filling that?
That's why we have our assistant director. So hopefully the assistant director would fill in. We'd also be looking to see if we could find some like per diem or just because it's an hourly rate. And so we would just look to that. So they could have some people on kind of retainer if they needed to have a backup. But the ratio is okay for one person. It's not great, but if there was an emergency, it would be okay.
So one person, the assistant could be there with 20 kids and we
Yes,
still.
it's not ideal, but
We're
no.
not held to any specific regulations, like a child care center.
No, like right now, our teaching classrooms, right, are about 20 students for one teacher. So it's kind of holding to that. But no, we're already in an education building, so we should be fine.
And where in the elementary school are you thinking of holding it?
Yeah, so that would be decided between the superintendent and the director, but ideally to begin, it would be the cafeteria, playground, maybe the gymnasium if it's not being used. And with the idea that we could expand into other areas if needed.
Have you done the math on what's the fewest number of students you could have or participants you could have and still run the program? That would cover your course.
I would say probably 15.
So you could start with 15 if you didn't hit the 20 mark. And that would at least be a break even
Yeah.
point.
And to the point about the registration fees, we don't necessarily have to, but that would also help give us a little bit of play there with some of the funds.
So would it be $25 registration for each trimester or?
No, just a one-time fee. So if the program continues, they would never have to pay it again.
So if you're brand new and you come in the second trimester, you don't have to pay that one time only, or you do?
You would. So if you're a new person registering, you would. So if they
Okay.
come after the trimester, they would then.
Is that per child? What if you have multiple children in the same thing?
Yeah, I would look to the director, but I'm sure we could make some type of agreement, but maybe it's a little bit less for multiple children, or if they pay ahead of time, in like 3 months or something, or the whole trimester, maybe we could give them a break on that as well. But I would look to the director to really
Yeah.
work on that.
And how do these prices compete with the other daycares? Is it much less expensive?
It's a little bit less expensive. Don't want to speak specific about the prices, but I do know that it is cheaper, and we feel that this gives us a little bit of play here to allow for us to not be in, running in debt, basically.
Okay.
So I know the way the rec runs, right? We go for an appropriation for the money up front, and then it comes in and it's paid. Are we looking to take the 1,200, is it 1,200 that you're asking for startup?
No, that's coming from the Board of Ed. So they'd be looking for the program appropriation, but it's not something we have to do now.
So usually we go at the end of the year for what doesn't make up, but Christine actually had a good point. That after the 10 weeks, that we could go to the Board of Finance and say, look, this is how much revenue came in, this is how much we spent, so then we could do a appropriation for the past and then the future right then if need be. But usually we wait till the end of the year like we did this year, and it was what, $10,000 or so, because they don't know always what programs are starting based on their budget. Sometimes they get more kids, less kids, or the
Yeah.
program doesn't run. So it would still be budgeted through the rec until,
But the startup cost is not coming out of the
It's
Board
coming
of
out of
Ed.
the Board of Ed, out of the undesignated, I believe, or out of their
Is that,
budget. Is it out of their budget?
it's not coming out of the rec
No,
budget?
it's coming out of our budget.
So just the initial startup is coming out of the undesignated.
So no, not
No.
not undesignated. It's coming out of our budget.
So Jamie, is the thought for the supplies to be purchased directly by the Board of Ed?
Yes, as what they need.
Okay,
through
and
the
then
school.
how is the startup $800 coming to the town? Like,
Yeah,
are
we-
you gonna hire that person for that week? Or,
You mean the education program hires? No, it would have to come through the town. We're just going to provide the monies that is needed to hire this person. So I think we would have to have a conversation with you of how we would kind of get that money over to you.
So Nicole, to answer your question, and like we've done in the past, when we didn't know how much the tax collector was gonna cost us, went from pot to full and so on. We met with the Board of Finance and we said, we know this is coming, we think it's gonna be around this, but we'll be back later, just to keep them in the loop. So I think we're doing something similar to this one. If we approve this program tonight to move forward, in 10 weeks, we can go to the Board of Finance, say, we approve the program, it's self-sustaining, we need this much money from the Board of Finance, which is gonna be repaid through revenue. And then moving forward, we'll be coming back to you before the end of the year to get an appropriation for the balance of the money needed, which again, being self-sustainable, money will be coming back to, like it does in rec through
Yep.
programs.
Yep.
But I think this is the part that had to happen sooner to get them to be able to hire a director. So yeah, that's where we are. And I'd like to, because we've done this in the past, before we actually take a vote, we actually open the public comment. Okay.
before we go into public, I just want to, if people are watching online later, to make it clear that the point of this program is to be self-sufficient, that it isn't using taxpayer dollars to fund it throughout the year. Because I know that sometimes that is a confusion with some of the rec programs of how it works and how the money comes in and goes out. But this program is, as they said, would pay for itself, or they won't run it. So I think that's important
It
to be
actually
clear.
sounds like it'll pay for itself and best case might even give some money back to the town at the end of the year.
Yeah, potentially, that'd be great.
So the structure of the evaluation after the first 10-week trial, is that something the Board of Ed and the Rec Commission will come back together again and meet and kind of evaluate where you're at and next steps?
We can, and we're hoping to provide evidence that, look, this program was successful, and look at our waiting list, and kind of give an assessment of the need and how is the program going? What does the director need in order to keep this program going in a sustainable way?
And then just from a medical standpoint, I'm assuming when kids are in session in school, that school nurse or some type of health professional is somewhere on the campus. Do we not have that available to us during these hours? And just, do we have a plan for?
We would not. I mean, the rec doesn't have an on-staff nurse as well, but many of the candidates that we have are highly trained in administrating medication, first aid, CPR was a requirement. So it would be okay. for the program.
And how about special needs students?
Yeah, we would have to address that. So certainly right now, there isn't like a para or anything that would come with a student that has that special need. So we look to the director to really make an appropriate program for that. But certainly this is an inclusive program and we would work with the school and with the director as well. And one of the great things about this being in the school as well is that the director will be able to communicate directly with the school. So say a kid comes and is like, that kid was a mess today, right? They forgot their medication, or maybe they were just having a really rough day. That communication can then get to the teachers to say, hey, heads up, so-and-so is having a hard day. And in the same way, it can happen if a student is having a hard time during the school. We're hoping that there's going to be this communication in this community with this before and after care where they can communicate back to the director. So it gives us a really holistic way of looking at what's going on with a child, both before and after and during school day.
One other question for you, and because I just want to be clear on both ends, but with the 10-week trial or program, that'll bring us almost to Christmas break, or
Yeah, it's
think
about, well, it depends on when this gets started, but we're looking to just align with the academic calendar, which is the end of the first trimester in the elementary school.
okay, so it'll be a fluid thing. So I'm just worried that 10 weeks are going great and it's not a vacation week, and now next week, what are we doing?
No, the idea we would keep this going. That's
Okay.
the plan.
All right, just wanted to be clear.
Yeah, so there's like 430 students. We hope that we could find these 20 students. I mean, if we had 72 families reply, we don't have enough space for every 72 families to attend. So we're hoping that we would get those 20 students and it would be a continuous thing. And we would know, I think we'll know pretty early on whether or not it's working or not.
Right.
So Jamie, if we open a public comment, could you just stay available to answer questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Is there any public comment either online or in person? Brian? Yes, please.
Okay, I appreciate your presentation. I really do. I might not agree with it, but I appreciate it. I have some concerns. I've heard self-sufficient before. I heard that with a Hewitt property, that it wasn't gonna cost taxpayers could buy that land, it wasn't gonna cost them anything else. It's costing me a lot of taxpayer dollars. For a startup program, and school's gonna start, I believe, tomorrow. It would have been I think it would have been nicer if it was this communication with the public and everybody was done sooner. I'm always leery of last minute things, to me. I'm sure it's not last minute to the Board of Education and certain people, but it is to me. I heard there was a survey. Okay, you have a survey. If it was just done in the school, of course they're gonna say there's a need. I just feel it's gonna be on the backs of the taxpayer sooner or later. Because you got the Recreation Commission involved, and you got the Board of Education involved. Board of Education has a budget. Recreation Commission has a budget. It's very easy to just shove that money in there if they need it. I feel it's just needs more input from the public. I don't think we should rush into it. I believe the people that probably said they needed it already have plans for their children to go somewhere before and after school already. Maybe we could think about it as a whole community a little more. I've seen some things with the schools, and I'm not trying to get on a rabbit trail, just wanted to point these things out that have happened already that I didn't really have any say in, although I wrote letters and stuff to different people about right now, the parent, if this came to be, a parent could bring his child to school or her child to school, drop them off before school, get there, get breakfast, get lunch, go to after school, and then the parent picks them up, brings them home, they have supper, and they have a short window there before the kid goes to bed, it starts all over again. I just feel that the parent isn't gonna have a lot of time with his own child. And you mentioned that if there's a problem with with the children with the director, he's gonna report back to the school, which he probably should report back to the parent, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just scared. I keep seeing like the parents, yes, the parents, but I see the parent involvement getting less and less. And I think that's a dangerous situation for our town anyways. I don't want us to become a welfare town and just take kids and send them off to school, and then you pick them up after you get back after work, and it just scares me as a parent. I mean, I went through it. I had to find a place for or somebody to watch my children. Anyways, I'm not going to go through the whole list of questions I had. I think the survey, when you have a survey in school or the Board of Education does, I hope they go outside the school to the community of the town, because the town eventually is going to end up paying something. And in this case, we are very little, but it is partly on the backs of the parents. I mean, taxpayer. And it always scares me. And because when you say that, sooner or later, if it comes back of the taxpayers, it's coming out of our pocket. And there's plenty of parents out there that can't afford the programs that are around here. So that's my input on it. I think it's just more of a convenience for parents to go to drop them off at school, and the kids are right here at school. But what do they do with the other ones? You know, they've already got something in place. But I think this should be, if you're going to do this, maybe do it at budget time and say, this is what our school wants to do. And then the director of the recreation director be here, say, okay, it's going to be collaboration. Then the whole town can decide. And that's my whole point of the thing, right? My money keeps getting smaller. You're saying, well, it's about $40 an hour, the way I figure it, the fellow's gonna make, or the girl, or whoever it is. And what scares me, that's more than I make, and I'm supposed to be retired, but I have a mortgage. I have mortgage, grandchildren. I got the same exact thing that parents have, except I don't have the kids every day now. But I have grandchildren. And for any more to come out of my pocket, nobody's giving me $40 an hour, and I gotta fight the United States government just to get the money I get now. So that's my point on it, and I just would hope you'd come back maybe during budget time. I think it seems like I end up at these meetings, and I might be the only person that's here, and then I get up and say something, and you know, if there's a lot more public here, then hopefully they'll speak if they're online or whatever. They may speak in favor of it, which they probably will, which is their right. But I'm looking at it from a different point of view as a relevant person in town. Lived here a long time, and I really think our schools are great. I don't agree with all the stuff they teach, but I can't change that.
Jamie, do you mind if I make a few comments in reaction to Brian's comments? So Brian, if you, knowing where you live with no children at home, your own children, you have grandchildren, you just said, if you get that survey that said, do we need before and after school childhood care, how would you have answered that?
Well, if there's an essay part on
No,
that,
just a question. Do we or don't we need it? How would you know the answer to that when you don't have any children in the school? Let's say it was just a simple survey. Do we need it or not? How would you answer it? You wouldn't know if we need it, correct? That's why I think the survey went to mothers and fathers of kids in the school.
hopefully it went out. The way I would have to answer that, I don't know if I could say there was a need. I would say there was a want.
Right, but you don't know because you don't have, just,
Right.
you're not in that situation. So why would you do a survey with people who don't have any skin in the game, so to speak?
Simply because it involves the money of the town.
But if the program's self-sustainable and I'll be the first one to invite you to a meeting if we find out that it's not, because the town doesn't have an appetite to have a non-sustainable program either. You said you didn't want this to become a welfare town. We're not enabling husband, like, it's a different world than when we were younger, right? My mom stayed at home. That doesn't happen all the time anymore. So now you got two parents working. We're enabling them to earn extra income by watching their children at a lower than market price. So we're doing the town a service to let people earn extra income. As far as parenting, I'm not going to get involved in the parenting of different families. I mean, people parent differently. I mean, I know my wife's dad worked 3 jobs. He was never home because that's what he had to do at the time. So each family is different. So I can't say that the town should determine how a parent should act or how a parent should be with their kids, how much time they should spend. If they decide the best situation is for them to both work and to use this program, that's their decision as a parent. We can't go back and say it's 1950 and moms have to stay home or dads have to stay home and they spend time with their children because it's not the same world as it was 50 years ago. All the town's doing is providing a possible service to someone to allow them to live the best life they can live, whatever that happens to be. Not in my eyes and not in your eyes, what's the best in their eyes. And the other thing I would say is we're employing people. You said, well, the $40 they're paying is more than you would make, or more than you made, and possibly more than, it's definitely more than I make now in my job. So, but I don't have the skills to do what this person they're hiring is, and we're actually employing people. So that's a good thing as we employ additional people, correct?
I'm not sure if it is or not, because it escalates. Bob. That's what I've been seeing.
What do you mean it escalates? I don't
Well,
understand.
Already said they were gonna hire one, but they're gonna have an assistant. And
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
But if they have
Gotta
5
have
assistants,
assistant.
who cares if there's enough money to support the program? It should be the best program it could be, no matter if it has 1 assistant or 5 or 10 or whatever. Suppose it told us to have 60 children and with 12 workers and it all pays for itself and the town gets a kick at the end of the year because there's money left over. Isn't that a win for everybody?
Well, it's a win for everybody possibly, because how about the people that can't afford?
That can't or
Yeah,
can?
suppose they have children, they cannot afford the, I call it tuition to the thing, or the weekly payment. You know, low income people in town, I mean, I see it all the time, is that the breakfast and the lunch thing started with low income, now it's for everybody.
But that's,
Uh,
then that's federal and
yeah.
state. That's not North Stonington paying for that. We're not
I
doing that.
understand, it's still tax dollars, and that's what I'm talking about.
Mm.
It's tax dollars and the whole thing.
So I'm just trying to give you it's like a point counterpoint. That's all. I listened to what you had to say and we don't always agree. We agree on a lot of things, but in this particular case, I have to say I disagree, but I wanted to have you make public up before we not, came to a vote on it,
Mhm.
which I think is what we try to do as a board of selectmen. So,
I mean, like I say, I see a lot of things going on now that's coming back on the tax
Right.
bills.
Brian, I can tell you that if this does go forward, I'd be one of the first ones to say, hey, this isn't paying for itself. Why are we doing it? And we need to, it wouldn't go any further based on my vote. I don't know the rest of the board, but I can tell you if it doesn't pay for itself, I would not support it going forward. I can also tell you that going to the Board of Ed meetings or Zooming in, going to the rec meetings, that this was a discussion for a while, especially on the Board of Ed side. And they've been trying to get it moving. Now, it does seem like a little push at the end because there's a timeline, try to get it started
Mhm.
before kids are really fully engulfed in their schedules. Give this option as to parents. Regarding the survey, I think Bob hit it on the head, like it's a program within the school system for those children. If you sent it out to the whole town, it doesn't do anything to get to the solid answers. Now, if you wanted to say, hey, do we want to provide a free program of daycare for children? And should the town pay for it? Then that might be a different type of survey, but need-based for the student population is different. And I think when it talks to budget time, the rec develops programs throughout the year. It's not always at budget time that goes forward without us getting to say anything until it happens. Even as a board, we don't vote on a lot of that stuff. I think Bob brought it forward because it does have the potential to, be a more substantial program cost wise, but also on the revenue side. And to comment on Bob's point about by employing people within our community, they spend money in this community. So if this grows and it pays for more employees, that pays to help local businesses. I walked into Press On today. There were 4 teachers there eating lunch after they got out of work. Only one of them lives in town. The other 3 don't. And they're spending money in our community. That's what we can hope for by employing people. As long as that money's paying for itself. I will state that. So I will tell you, and it's on the record, if this program isn't paying for itself, I won't support it going forward. If that helps. you
So
at all.
it's a 10-week kind of see how it goes thing. So after that 10 weeks, if the people have their kids in there and it don't work out, then they just have to quit. Then they gotta scream.
It'd be an unfortunate situation, but I think, like Jamie said earlier, they'll know how it's running within that first week to 2 weeks.
Okay.
If I could just comment on one other thing, this isn't a new idea. We're one of the few school districts that does not have a before and after care program, and they are very successful in the districts. And many of our candidates that we're looking at are coming from extremely successful before and after care programs. So I'm not so worried about the 20 students. I think we'll get them, and I'm pretty sure with the right person, it will really take off. But I think we don't know if it's going to work if we don't try and put it out there. We'll know within the registration period. If we don't have anybody, it doesn't work. But we have to give it a shot and at least see if we can get the students in.
Good luck to you.
Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion.
Can I just ask one question
Sure.
first, Jamie? So if this goes forward, you go forward with hiring someone, when are you gonna let the public know that this is moving
That's a
forward?
great question that I look to all of you to help give us some guidance. So we're ready to go and hire, but we don't know how this process should go. Should it be coming from Christine? Should it be coming from us we have to hire this person first. We have to let them know as soon as possible so that they can put in their 2-week notice. What I would like to do is as soon as we hire that person, we get the word out saying like, save the date, this is coming. Like tomorrow. I move fast. We've moved really fast on this. And to address that, this is a 2-year idea that we've been talking about. As long as I've been on the board, I have been asking and talking about this, but we've had to follow the proper channels. So we had to bring this up in meetings. We had to discuss it in our Board of Ed meetings. We had to wait for rec commission meetings. So I'm not comfortable with how quickly we're moving, but we had to based on the limitations of town meetings and things like that. So to get back to that, I'd hope to get the word out tomorrow if I could. And then what we really need to start doing is getting the registration up and going so that we can see if this is going to happen, because we want to know right away, like, great, we have the 20 kids, let's get going. And of course, because this person is probably going to give their 2-week notice, we need to let them have that 2 weeks. So
Right, that makes sense. I just didn't know if you want to hit that number, you can at least advertise that coming soon, if it goes through, that it's coming soon, wait for more detail.
mhm.
So then people can kind of say, okay, I can manage these next 2 weeks of having my kids
Right.
do something else.
Yeah, so tomorrow would be great.
And when we go to the Board of Finance after these first 10 weeks, maybe your director can come in. I'd like to meet it before then, after you hire that person or him, whoever you're hiring. But come and be part of that presentation to the Board of Finance, knowing that we'll be looking for appropriations and they can explain how well the program's going. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
I will make a motion to approve moving forward with the hiring of a director of before and after school care. Like my motion could go on and on and on, and I'm not quite sure where to end it. I'm making a motion to approve and move this forward
On a 10-week,
on a
Pro-
10-week
trial
trial
program.
basis.
The only,
You want me to
You can
add
amend,
to
you can
it?
amend it.
yeah, I think maybe amend it to allow them to move forward with the hiring of if they need two people, that they move forward with the program for
Yeah,
that
so-
10-week trial.
Yeah, so motion is to move forward the entire program with a 10-week trial. And to approve the initial expenditure coming out of the Board of Ed to get these people hired and do the trial. And then I look forward to having them come back after the 10 weeks and giving, an update.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
No, I just wanted to commend Steph and you, Jamie, and everybody that worked on it. I having listened to and Zoom for the last probably 2.5 years of the Board of Ed, by far the discretionary effort and additional time on the Board of Ed members is pretty impressive. So thank you for all that additional volunteered time that you guys have put in to bring this forward. It's quite a program.
And I'll add to that about the rec commission and the Board of Ed working together on this. This
Yes.
is,
Yeah,
mean,
I love
this
that
is-
collaboration.
if this goes forward, it's a big plus for the town to say, look, our Board of Ed can work with our municipal side of government to move some programs forward, and the rec commission has a really nice new program that they can say, look at what we created with the Board of Ed. So I think personally, it's a great idea. And like I said, I've been to those meetings, both meetings, I've seen it, and I know how much work has gone in by everybody. And I think it'll be a great success.
I don't think I have to add to what you both said, so we'll take a vote. All those in favor of approving this program as stated by Nicole Porter, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the program has been approved. You can move forward. We look forward to get some feedback and then see how the 10-week pilot works. Great,
Let the
thank you.
social media frenzy begin.
Thank you. I really appreciate your support.
Okay, our next meeting is September 11th, 2023. It's a tri-board meeting with us, the Board of Finance and the Board of Education. We will be chairing that meeting. So again, that's at 6 PM, I believe. Is it, Christine? Or is it 6:30?
So we changed it to we said 6:30 at our selectmen's meeting.
But I think that, and when we posted the meetings ahead, and the 4 meetings in the beginning, we said 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I have no problem with 6 o'clock. I just know at our selectmen meeting, we said 6:30. I know there was some debate on the Board of Ed side of 6 or 6:30 of what works.
I can
better
send an
for-
email out with, I would say,
Official filed time is 6 o'clock for what we filed.
why don't we stick with that? And
Right,
I'll
so
send an
we-
email to the chairs.
So 6.
All right, so we didn't vote on anything on the last one. We just said it was gonna be around 6:30. Because we said it was gonna be our normal meeting.
No, we voted on, when we originally came back with the.
Yeah,
tri-board,
yeah,
we
I
said-
just mean last.
Oh, we probably
Tuesday.
just guessed.
That was when we were talking about the town meeting. We were talking about what time we should have the town meeting,
Yeah, I think you're right.
the October 2nd town meeting.
Maybe I'll go back and listen, but it doesn't matter at this point. So it's 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock,
the
and I'll
11th.
email the other boards, and
Okay.
let them know. Okay. Entertain an adjournment motion.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Great. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 7:18 is the ending time.